Top 5 ways to let go of the past. Peace to you once again, my fellow expression of consciousness. The first thing to do is to truly understand that this won't be nice to hear, maybe right now, if you're trying to let go of the past. You cannot change or let go of the past. This is a bitter or blunt truth, but it depends on your perspective, as you'll see later on in this video. You cannot change the past. You cannot let go of the past. I'll say that again. You cannot let go of the past. I'm saying what is true. Because the past is, of course, a memory. As always, I'm going to link this to your true self, my friends. The memory of the past is not something you've ever held onto with your hands. It sounds obvious, but of course, we have to look at this because you might be going through some suffering right now. So let's break this down. You cannot hold onto the past physically because it's immaterial, obviously. It's thought, it's memories, it's feelings. You cannot let go of it because you never had it as a object, something called past memory. It's something that appears and disappears, appears and disappears. You're not always thinking of a memory, for example, in deep sleep. So understand that it's not something that you need to let go of because you never had it in the first place. And if anything, that should feel good. Because you are causing more resistance to yourself by believing you have to let go of something that you never had in the first place. It becomes a mental loop, a mental trap. I need to let go of this thing, but you never had it in the first place. Now, let's look at the mind. That's where the memory is being perceived, right? Even the mind, the memory, the thought, the intuition, the sense of memory of past is still not being held onto by you. You do not have mental hands, so to speak, that are holding on to the memory. If this sounds obvious, then that's good, because right now you might be suffering. Sometimes you need to hear that which is clear and obvious. We've all been there, overthinking the past. No one is free from that. But you can come to an understanding to where the past cannot hold you anymore, because you see it for what it is. And you'll learn more throughout this video. So again, even in the mind, it's something that appears and disappears, appears and disappears. So recognize that the past is not something to let go of. You never had it in the first place. Do not claim this thing called the past to be something that you have. It's something that you think about. That's a big difference. It's something that you are aware of. That's a big difference in perspective. It's not something that you have. You don't have the past in your being. Apart from, of course, the memory of it. But your true being is never in the past. It's always in complete presence, in complete so-called now. The second thing to do is to accept that the thing, the incident, the experience, whatever it may be, happened. Again, we put ourselves in more resistance, which causes more stress, which literally makes us physically ill when we do these things. When we disagree with reality that the thing did happen. We have to accept, in order to perceive it as something that happened, to then be able to let go. So to speak, let go in the sense of not identifying with it so much. We have to accept that the thing happened, the incident happened. Without adding any other stories onto it, just accept, okay, it happened. It wasn't nice. Of course, if you're trying to let go of the past, then the implication is it wasn't a nice past, a nice memory. But we have to accept that it happened. The thing happened. Because you may be in a state right now of disbelief that the thing happened. No, I can't believe it happened. Why? Which is normal. But at some point after the shock, simply accept that it happened. That's the second part. Number 3. Now what it's time for you to do is to transmute that pain, that frustration, that annoyance, that anger into something positive. Because right now you may feel victimized by that past event. You may feel someone did something wrong to you, so you feel hurt. Natural feelings. But with every single experience we have, I have to say that again, really, every single experience we have is a learning opportunity. That's how we learn, with experience. So even with the hurt, with the pain, with the frustration, with the annoyance, with the wrongdoing, it's still an opportunity to grow in wisdom, to grow in intelligence, to grow in knowledge. So use that event to improve your now, because now you know what not to do. Now you know what you shouldn't have done, or now you know who not to trust, whatever the case may be. Of course, it may feel too little too late, but again, like we said in the first 2 parts, you have to accept that it happened. Otherwise, it's going to make yourself worse. So turn it around into a positive, please. If you're suffering right now from the past memory. What have you learnt from it? Even if you just write it down, a list of things I've learnt from this. That is a positive action, a positive exercise. Writing down things I've learnt about this, because at the very least, what you learn from the past is more of who you are. Remember, you are living this life as you, right? You're reviewed 24/7. So to learn more about yourself is a positive experience. Life is all about learning more about self. Mental self, non-physical self, physical self, energy self, pure self, Atman, all of these layers of self. That's what reality is about, learning more about ourselves. What do I like, what don't I like? Because you are living this life to experience as yourself, not to experience as somebody else. They are living to experience as themselves. Their selves. So what did I learn from this? Even if everything you learned from it seems to be negative, it's still positive, because now you know. Now you have the clarity of these aspects of yourself that are not conducive to happiness in the relationship or in the whatever happened, in the actions that you have been taken or the way you reacted, etc. You see, we can always turn negative experiences into positive, because at the very least, my friends, I know it may hurt, but at the very least, you now know something you did not know. That's progression. So it feels like you're going backwards when you can't let go of the past, and you are mentally. But to understand, you are at the very least learning something about self, your human personality self. That's a positivity moving forwards in life. And quite frankly, if the other person or the other people in the memory that you're trying to let go of are not moving forward in understanding more about themselves, then actually you're using the memory better than them. Transmute the pain into positivity. And doesn't mean be happy and start painting rainbows if you don't feel to. As I said before, something as simple, as seemingly small as writing down what you've learned from the incident is actually a positive doing, because it's accepting, like your parts 1 and 2, you're now accepting that the thing happened. You're not resisting. It's okay, it happened. What have I learnt? Another chapter in your story of life. Number 4. Now, usually when we're trying to let go of a memory, we're trying to let go of a memory that somebody did something bad to us, or we did something bad to them, but usually somebody did something that hurt us. It's usually the memory we want to let go of, right? So again, this comes down to changing your perspective. Perspective is everything within our relative world. So if your perception right now is that somebody just did something bad to you, what you're actually doing unknowingly in saying that they did something wrong to you, bad to you, forget the yes they did feeling right now. By you sticking to that line of thinking, you now actually place them on a pedestal. Why? By you saying that somebody did something to you, somebody hurt you, and maybe they did, but by you sticking to and staying on this level, at that point of you staying on the level of they did something to you, you are now putting them on a pedestal. Why? Because you're giving your power to them, to the instant, to the memory. You did something to me because you're stronger than me in that moment. I feel weaker. Why are you so happy when I am not happy? Why did you do this to me? You're putting them on a pedestal. Why me? Why me? You are essentially victimizing yourself. And again, please understand, we have to go through emotions. What I'm saying is not something to be able to understand or go through or accept instantly. You have to go through your emotions, your grieving, etc., before you try to even begin to let go of the so-called past. Please understand that. So, but going back to the main point of this, of number 4, you put them on a pedestal when you do this. You're giving them power. You did this to me. How did I let you do it? Well, because you're placing them upon a pedestal right now. I mean, within the memory, maybe they did do something to you, but I mean, with the memory of it, you saying, how did that happen to me? You're placing them on a pedestal. And you don't want to do that. Because then again, you're taking your power away from yourself. And the more power you take away from yourself, the less happy you will feel. Because you feel more powerless. But again, it's just a memory. Like we said in part 1, I think, the memory itself is not actually doing anything to you. But I'm going to touch on that more a bit later. But yeah, you don't want to place them on a pedestal. That's the last thing you can do. And actually, by saying that they did something to you, you are essentially victimizing yourself. A victim, of course, is lower than the abuser, right? The perceived abuser. You don't want to be a victim right now. You don't want to be a victim ever. And saying that they did something to you over and over again in your mind is you're going to victimize yourself and make yourself feel worse. I don't know what more to say really on that. It's just real, you know? What more can I say on that? Well, first of all, I hope you are following so far. Because you see, one of the hardest things to understand, to learn in life, truly one of the hardest things to learn in life is what I'm about to say. Truly, is to not take things personally. That's a tough one, eh? To not take things too personally. That's one of the hardest things to do in life. And that's what the spiritual journey helps with, and understanding self, what I keep talking about. Because essentially that's what it comes down to, right? You have taken something personally. This hurt, you're taking it personally. The action, the pain, you're taking it personally. Someone's decision, thought process, you're taking it personally. Of course, we do to a certain degree, but I'm talking about taking it too personally and holding on to these things. Because going back to this consciousness talk, as I always talk about, essentially speaking, my friends, what you are is pure consciousness. Pure consciousness. Not in the sense of the mind having an attention on things. I'm conscious of that. I'm purely conscious on this video. No, not mind level consciousness. Consciousness in this school of thought is like the background of the foreground of experience, as I keep saying. And that's truly how I perceive life right now, since my so-called awakening. I say so-called because who is the one that awakens anyway? This mental imagery, this memory of yourself, this personality, that's changeable. That's not even the base layer of what you are. If it was, it could never change. If you was emotion, your emotion could never change. If you was thought, if you was memory, it could never change within your experience. But it does change within your experience because you are the constant thread that perceives all the change. But the thread is an immovable thread. Pure consciousness. It pervades all experiences, but doesn't touch anything. That's what you truly are. The memories, the thoughts, the ideas, they cannot touch you. Not the true you. So when we take things to be personally, we actually take ourselves out from this space of pure, free, untouchable consciousness, and we contract ourselves into a limited mind, a limited identity, a limited personhood. And only from that level can we feel pain, because now we are a form of our formless self. And any form can be manipulated in some way, or perceived in some way, touched in some way, whether just through memory or imagination, or actually physically. Because the pure consciousness, the pure self that you are, cannot even be imagined. That's how free you truly are, my friends. That's how free you truly are from things such as memory. That's how much memory doesn't actually hurt you. It just hurts the idea of you. Which leads me into number 5. The memory itself. When I say things like itself, please take it literally. It's not going to be easy to understand how I speak if you don't take certain things literally as much as you can. I hope it's clear when I'm making analogies and metaphors, but right now I'm not. The memory itself. Look within your experience, my fellow expression of consciousness. The memory itself, can it actually hurt you? Especially after what we just covered in number 4. The memory itself, can it actually hurt you? How would it hurt you? I hope you're laughing too, because we need to understand this. The memory itself cannot hurt us. What's it gonna do? Put on some boxing gloves and become a human being and then punch you in the face? If it could do that, then it could hurt you physically. But of course, the memory itself cannot hurt you. So then, that begs the question. So what is hurting you? Who is hurting you? Why is hurting you now? Okay? This has to be understood as well, my friend. Because if it's not the memory itself, that memory, that thought, that mind that is hurting you, then there's only one candidate left for what is actually hurting you. It's you. It's not an outside entity called a person, because that person has now left. It's just a memory of a person or an incident. It's not the incident, it's a memory now. It's not the experience, it's a memory now. That's what this video is about, right? It's the memory, the past. So it's not that that's hurting you. Unless, of course, you have a long-running disease. But obviously, this is about experiences that one wants to let go of. So it's not that that's hurting you. So it must be yourself. You see, it's how you are attaching onto the conditioned belief that we all have of the subject-object relationship. That is to say, I am this being that is perceiving something. Fingers, a video, a world. Within that separation, the possibility for weakness, let's say, appears. I don't mean it in a negative way, just in a literal way, weakness. Because you are less of your whole self. Because again, like I said in part 4, you are now a form. So you then create the ground for pain to actually enter your life and stay. Pain's going to come and go, but enter it and stay. When you take yourself to be that which is perceiving the memory instead of my fellow expression of consciousness, seeing that the memory and you the perceiver of the memory, and you the space of the perceiving of the memory, is one. So if it's one, then there isn't a entity called thoughts, called mind, called memory, called past, that is hurting you, because you are that memory. Do you see the difference and distinction there? It's not I am imagining a memory. I'm imagining a past. I'm thinking of the past. That thought, that experience, that past that is appearing now, and the perceiver of the thought, and the space that allows for this experience to take place of perceiving thoughts, perceiving memories, is the same thing. It's one. It's one. It's all you. Just as this hand cannot hurt itself, it's itself. An outside entity would have to hurt this hand. An outside entity would have to hurt the sun. The sun cannot burn itself. An outside entity would have to hurt you. But what is outside of yourself? I don't mean I'm going quite deep, but this is what my channel is about. But I'm not going to the ultimate reality right now. I'm trying to make this relatively more basic video than what I usually do. Just in your human experience, the mind, the body, the perceiver of the mind, that's all one. So saying like, oh, I want to let go of this past, I want to let go of it, but then you're trying to let go of yourself. You can't run away from yourself. The mind is not attacking you, it's not hurting you. It is you. That's why in part 2, I think it was, we said accept. You have to accept because you're now accepting yourself. Do you want the mind to hurt you? Or do you not? Then change your perspective, my friends. The mind is not a separate entity to what you are. It cannot hurt you. It is you. The perceiver, the witness, the observer of the thoughts, the mind, is you. The body is you. The space in which the experience appears is you. The body-mind construct is what I'm talking about right now. Understand this is all you. Now, of course, let's not be silly. Obviously, your fist can hurt your body. You can hurt your body. But I'm talking about the mental side right now. We can get into the body another time. That's another subject in itself. But I'm talking about right now the memory, because of course that's what this topic is about, this video. The memory itself cannot hurt you. It is you. So if you feel like it's hurting you and you want to let go right now, it's because you're creating it to be something stronger than it is, something outside of self. So there's 2 ways you can actually help yourself right now. Minimum 2 ways, of course. One is to understand what I'm saying, that the mind is you. This is a perspective that is true, of course. The mind is you. So if it is you, it cannot hurt you. It comes out of you. It is you. It cannot hurt you. It cannot put on boxing gloves and punch you in the face. It is you. And it's immaterial. It cannot hurt you. It is you. I have to say that again. It is you. The other side is to see that you are the observer of the mind. So it's a different perspective now. You are actually the observer of the mind. If you are the observer of the mind, then there is a distinction, there is a space between that which is observing the mind and the mind. So you have a couple ways there to distance yourself from this idea that it could hurt you in any way, this memory that you want to let go of. I'll try and wrap this up now. Quick summary. Ooh, summary. So, first of all, I have love for you if you're going through some suffering right now, mentally. You will get through this. I hope this video will help you, first of all. And actually sticking with that, I mean, love really does heal all mental issues, all problems. Essentially, it comes down to loving yourself and knowing what yourself is, knowing what it is that you are loving. That mind that you want to get rid of, that past, that's yourself. Love it. And that will transmute the way you perceive those memories. Oh, I learned from it. Oh, the fact that I had that experience anyway was great. The fact that I still have a body. That's what love would do. When you're living with the vibration of love, more understanding will shower over you. Notice how there's always certain traumas that at the time were bad, but we overcome. Some we don't overcome because we haven't listened to this video. But essentially, love, we need to love ourselves more. And that's essentially what I'm saying with all of these 5 points. You need to, because to accept is to love yourself more, to not ruminate and go over things too much. To understand the mind isn't trying to hurt you is understanding, that's love. To understand the other person is not necessarily trying to hurt you. Again, you're loving yourself. And even if they are, you can still change it because you are a free being to do that. Change the perspective that, no, it's just a lesson they were giving me. As harsh as it was, or not harsh, it was a lesson they're giving me. There's always ways to love yourself more and to love the memory itself. Again, not necessarily what happened, but the memory itself, because it's brought about more wisdom within you. I hope this video helps you in some way. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel, and check the links in my description, my bio, for my courses, my books, and have a wonderful day or evening, my fellow expression of consciousness. Remember that, fellow expression of pure consciousness. Peace.